was a very scary song for Mortal Kombat 4, especially with the stage. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Sleepy Hollow, the missing episodes. Last time, Team Witness has actually managed to venture through the first circle of hell, known as Limbo, aka the first ring of incontinence. Well, actually, this is the first ring of incontinence coming up. Anyway, they searched for Ichabod's damned soul, but they didn't have much luck. So they're on their way to lust. And I should warn you, this is very suggestive. So if any of you guys use this as like fetish fuel or something, I suggest you leave now, especially those that are sensitive to it. And if anyone dares you to use it as fetish fuel, then consider yourself reported. Alright, let's do this. Alright. Chapter 11, or Chapter 12, Lust. This next chapter may contain some suggestive scenes and character bashing. Viewer discretion is advised. Because it's obvious I'm doing the Lust ring next, and chances are there may be some characters that people might like and feel they don't deserve eternal damnation. I suggest you take this with buckets of salt. You've been warned. Team Witness had finally descended into the next circle, after what seemed to be like minutes. They took a brief sigh of relief, grateful their feet had touched even more unholier ground. The inhabitants weren't so lucky. Suddenly the air just got colder and a strong maelstrom blown. Every one of the damned was tossed around like rag dolls, and the sky began to rain in torrents, soaking the heroes. The temperature began to drop rapidly, and the six felt they were being drenched to the bone. "We have to hurry and find shelter!" Through the downpour and the radical lightning, Diana pointed toward a structure as tall as the wrathful clouds. The team raced across a bridge that was lined with golden statues on each side. On the left were naked figures of men, and to the right were women. Some even had males and females on both sides. Arching streams of thin violet light were between them, as if they were reaching out to their significant others. The hurricane had forced the team back as they hurried in. "Stick together! It's our only hope!" Laura extending a hand toward her teammates. They each grabbed hold and stammered inside the tower. It rose from a wide chasm and faded in between the two bridges above the malicious weather. Thanks to the virtues they possessed on the backs of their hands, with small portions of prudence, they had enough strength to plow through. They took a breather before Laura found her voice. "This must be the carnal tower, the heart of lust. This is where the queen of the perverted Cleopatra dwells, and she is the source of those violent storms." As if to answer her, the sky cracked with thunder and lightning that nearly blinded the team as they looked through the openings above. "It is said that this is the least severe of all the rings, even though it's the first of the 7 deadly sins, as these sinners let lust drive them constantly through life. Day or night, their urges are non-stop. Thus this whirlwind keeps forcing them to move eternally without allowing them to stop for rest. Lust was once a form of divine love for others, perverted into an obsession with the flesh, which is why it is only the second circle rather than a lower one. The others are far more worse, as they're the forms of corrupted divine love, those being greed or gluttony. Remember when you said I dodged a bullet just 3 years ago, while I was busy doing community service at the time?" In a flashback, he recalled vividly on how he, Ichabod, and Holly were facing a monster known as the succubus, also known as the Heartless, named Lilith. She was a creature that was living with her heart severed from her body, and she was well known for her abilities on taking advantage of her victims' desires and feeding off of them as she drained their life force. Little did the gang know that her job was already accomplished when she gave her master Moloch enough strength to grow simply by feeding him as an infant demon in a crib. If you've seen the episode Heartless in Season 2, you should know this. The trio teamed up with Abby and Katrina, and it was entirely up to them to find and destroy Lilith's heart before the remaining members were becoming empty husks after drawing her to a nightclub. Gavin was the only one who was never tempted by her charm, though it was a lost cause for him alone. Fortunately, their lives were spared. "You're right, Jenny. You had dodged a bullet since you never dealt with a succubus like we did. You were so lucky." "Lilith, the Heartless. You've written about your encounter in your journal." "That storm. It's powered by Cleopatra. We have to go up in order to progress. If any of us should feel an urge that we must stick with Laura at all costs since she has temperance, it could help us survive here. All right, let's go. Stay close." The ascent of the tower's every floor became more sickening and at the same time enticing. Gavin was nearly sick to his stomach. There were numerous floors as the six stepped up a spiral staircase. There were open windows carved from the stone overlooking pillars that resembled penises. Inside they saw multiple doors with the structures of vaginas, leading to chambers that represented wombs. All around there were some decor that had lovers in intimate poses, and they could have sworn they heard moaning and gasps in every corridor they passed. In each column, the heroes discovered some of the people that Gavin felt should be neutered like the dirty dogs they are. Point taken. A distinctive few were a carrot-top woman who was banging with an Asian-like male who looked older than her. He kept saying "giggity" a lot. They saw an elderly man in a high-pitched voice being tossed around in the vortex outside with his metal walker and his bony dog. A fat lady with wild black hair was also being thrown asunder into the tower. As they continued, a working girl with shiny blonde hair and golden clothes was being molested by shades. Gavin, Jenny, and Laura remembered the massacre that happened at a village in Rhode Island not very long ago. This is actually a scenario I came up with. I despise Family Guy. I mean, I used to like the classic episodes, but as the show went on, and since Fox merged with Disney, which is a bad idea, I just quit. You know, what the hell is Fox thinking? What is Disney thinking, merging with Fox? It's for mature audiences. What if children get involved in this? Anyway, there's the scenario I came up with known as the Raid and Quahog, and most of the Family Guy characters are killed and sinned. Believe me, you're going to be seeing a lot of Family Guy characters in hell, and I have no regrets. So, here's Lois Griffin, and you can pause here if you want. I don't want to go over this because it's going to take too long. I don't want to go over this either because, I just hate them. So, anyway, this is Glenn Quagmire. You can pause here if you want. And, oh, jeez, perverted bastard. And there's John Herbert Silverbird, known as the Pervert. Herbert the Pervert. Go figure. Nice. And there's Bonnie Swanson here. You want to pause here. A.k.a. Joan Swanson's wife. And Ginger Rockstein, you can figure it out. But, yeah, hint, hint, it's from a movie I really hate. And the Greys, I never saw 50 Shades of Grey for obvious reasons. Never want to see it. Anyway, when the team got higher, it was as if the tower was also growing in height. They suddenly heard a deep whooshing noise from above. Thinking it was only the storm, they pressed on. Some dark large hag in rotting flesh dropped and caught the team by surprise. Her long tongue was almost like a large carnivorous snake's. The team was blindsided and a few members were taken by her. Those that recovered figured it was Cleopatra. The ones still remaining were Laura, Jenny, and Alex. Jake, Gavin, and Diana eventually came too. Who was that? Surgeon was holding his aching head. The archivist heard someone whisper to him. Soon enough, it was Alex. Diana met up with a man in his 40s that had broken, wrinkled skin, and Gavin saw Jenny. How did you get up here so fast? Wait, who's this guy? That's Mitch Talbot, Gavin. He was Molly's father and Diana's former lover. He just returned from his service in the Marines. I don't... He was enamored with doubt since he was killed by an ISIS radical. The others seemed to be persuaded more easily. We can finally be together now, Diana. Forgive me for abandoning you and our daughter. I wish you would have never sent me that dear John. Now that I'm no longer part of the Marines, I could be with you two forever, and I won't have to worry about forgetting to call her right. His voice was unusually gentle. Little by little, she began to warm up to him. Laura's here, but we were separated. Molly's still in the overworld. With your help, we can escape this corruption and reunite as a family again. I may be a soldier, but I've been battered for far too long. I'm very tired. I can't do this without you. Sleepy eyes seemed to be affecting hers as he caressed her cheek. Jake was also influenced by Alex, but Gavin was just as confused. With a quick shake of his head, Jenny, we can't leave here. Not until we save Ichabod. We can, Gavin, and we will. He could have sworn he was hearing beats from his heart ringing in his ears. Or perhaps drums. We should rest here. Once we're strong enough, we'll rescue Crane. That's a promise. His head became more foggy, and he looked toward Jake and Diana, who were being held down by their lovers. Then she gave him a deep, passionate kiss, and out of the corner of his blurry vision, he heard a hiss and saw his distorted face. Fangs grew within her mouth. His hand slipped down and held on to something hard. He struggled to break free as his body was being wrapped by hers. This can't be you! No! No! With a hard kick, she stammered backward. No! You're not Jenny! You're just a demon! You all are! He drew his blade and sliced the phony into smoke. Enraged, he diced the other two, and both Diana and Jake sicked on him, pinning him to the ground. Ah! What are you doing? The ravenous faces were fixed as they started to advance on him. No! Get off! They were both blinded by light and were incapacitated by holy water from the soakers. Damn you, Jake! Snap out of it! Mom! You've just been deceived by lust demons! That was not my father! Gavin, are you all right? Oh, thank goodness. I knew it wasn't you trying to convince me on leaving without Ichabod. I would never. He's more important than that. Even more important than your very soul. Everyone looked around for that altered, vehement voice in which they presumed it belonged to an archdemon. What should we do with them? We can't just leave them here. I guess we should carry them. So she and Jenny lifted the stunned Jake on each of their shoulders, while Laura and Gavin carried Diana. It was literally an uphill battle before they reached the top. The storm became more aggressive than ever as they each felt the strong gusts. As they tired, they stopped and lowered their unconscious partners. Someone needs to keep an eye on them. How about you and Gavin go on and defeat Lust's archfiend, and we'll wait for you here. All right. Gavin, you with me? Mm-hmm. Drew out his demon slayer and metal blades. They emerged into the storm, which actually became calmer. Little by little, they saw an enormous witch that gradually departed from the clouds. Her bare breasts protruded from her body. They were bigger than Dee's. She wore an ominous spiky crown and robe. She had a lot of gothic makeup, even heavy black lipstick, thick massacre, and purple blush. She floated down toward the circular arena and introduced herself. I believe you two are looking for me. I am known as the dominant demon of lust, the archfiend of the appetite of the flesh, the former empress of the ancient world. I am Cleopatra, Voice was rather tempting, but Gavin managed to shake it off. I thought there was something dry in the air, so you're the one. I will offer a request to help you save Ichabod, on one condition. You must mate her, be a part of my bidding. Gavin, she's right. What? No! Don't listen to her! She's influencing you! You lost your loved ones, Nick Holly and Joe Corbin. Your lover is waiting right here. Join with him. Whatever she says, she's lying! She only wants us as part of the ring for eternity! He immediately withdrew his blade, took out his holy water soaker, and hesitated. After a few pauses, he managed to aim and shoot toward Cleopatra, burning her eyes. She let out a shriek. Did the same to Jenny. It was like acid to them. He changed the nozzle from spray to stream and gave the Duchess a few shots until she fell off the ledge. But it wasn't long before she enlarged herself into her gargantuan size and roared at them. As she did, her husband and loyal subordinate Mark Antony and Lilith exited her mouth. My love, my child, destroy these two vermin on my behalf. The warrior had a massive shield and a large mustache and beard to compensate. Lilith looked the same as Gavin's last encounter. He decided to deal with Mark while Jenny took on the Heartless despite it being her first fight. She was just as swift as Jenny, and Gavin was more agile than the brute. The two women were entangled in a catfight as they clawed and mopped the floor with each other while Cleopatra watched the brawl. Gavin sprayed the soaker toward her, for now she went down. Despite all the armor he wore, Mark was evenly matched with his opponent. At times, both Jenny and Gavin were vulnerable as they made the split-second decision on stunning Cleopatra, resulting in some abrasions and enduring some inflictions. Gavin eventually switched to his soaker. The corrosive liquid was more effective against Mark's dark covering. With a stroke of luck, the two nearly prevailed with their stamina dwindling. Mark fell and his body dissolved, but Lilith was still standing, and Cleopatra reduced to her original size. You dare manage to overthrow the old-time rulers of lust! Cleopatra marched up to them, and Lilith did her signature move, sucking away their life force like a straw in a shake. Gavin and Jenny were being drained away, their bodies looking more pallid as death's horse. Something shattered behind them, and blue mist surrounded the platform. A time crystal was activated. I'll be there in a minute. Delilah's dagger was thrown straight into Cleopatra's chest. Laura went onto the scene just in time to save Jenny and Gavin. This stunt slew both her and Lilith since she was guarding her heart. Cleopatra and the Heartless are dead, but they can't be gone forever. Thanks, Laura. We really owe you one. Ugh. Hold on a second, guys. I'm busy. I'm a little busy right now. Okay. I'll be right there. What? Yeah, about 5 minutes. Alright. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Yeah. I'll be right there. Hey. Sorry for the interruption, guys. I'm not stopping. Not yet. Ugh, I hate interruptions. No, now we're even. Trio gradually stood up and made their way to the second ring of incontinence known as gluttony. Meanwhile, Ichabod's treachery as Lucifer mocked him. He said that he betrayed Katrina when he sided with Betsy and made a relationship during the Revolution, soiling his late lover in the process. Ugh, I never liked Betsy. While also having a thing with the doomed Caroline before she was drowned by the crazed weeping Lady Mary, which was why Katrina succumbed to the darkness and wanted revenge on him, Henry hating him all the while, and how terrible of a father he was. As much as he desperately defended himself, Lucifer froze Crane underneath the waist down, including his genitalia. Hint, hint. This was by far one of the most hardest rings I had to describe, and one of the most unpleasant. Why? because I have a grudge with sexual material. But since this was the lust ring, I had to push through with it. It was thanks to the characters here that made the process a bit easier, as well as the boss fight with Cleopatra and Mark Antony from a vid I found of the game. Although I liked the animated epic better. About this small biography, I always wondered who'd replace Quahog's deceased mayor Adam West, while some describe him as irreplaceable and a staple to the series. I consider him no less than the incompetent, humorless mayor of Springfield, Quimby. So I just developed this little backstory as to how much I wanted those hated characters eliminated for the equation. Here's the rundown. Quagmire is simple. He's a horn dog that's obsessed with sex. He never cares about women for their souls, only for their bodies. He's also known to be a rapist, kidnapper by openly admitting he kept women captive and starving her to death in a basement, a stalker, and a necrophile, having sex with dead women. Yeah, disgusting. I've also seen him knock women unconscious so he can violate them. He always grosses me out because he's hell-bent on sex, even lying about that he never had any intercourse when the world was coming to an end, which was an April Fool's joke. But Quagmire is so disturbing! Plus, I bet that he contracted so many diseases that Seth knows he passed them on to the others, even to his own kids. He deserves to be in the last ring, no exceptions. Same goes with Herbert, since he's always known as the pervert despite their backgrounds as veterans. Lois Griffin is one of the fictional moms I can't stand. She's an ineffective mother and supporter. She's always irritated, even with the slightest issues. She overlooks and accepts her husband too much and tries her best to cover him up, and she's self-absorbent and bitchy all the time. Because she always sweeps her husband's and Brian's pathetic ways under the rug instead of resolving them, Lois is a trashy mom as far as I'm concerned. No matter what you do the rest of your life, you will always be garbage. You're garbage, you whore! She doesn't even deserve the title mom either. Plus, she uses her significant other for sex only, and she has a long history of affairs. Also, Ginger Rockstein was based off of a hooker I knew from the anime asinine movie Casino. There will be some other Family Guy and Casino characters later on. She was the definitive proof of slut. I'm sure the backstory gave a little insight about her. That role left me a loathing impression of her as well as her actress. Cleopatra and Mark Antony made an appearance here as well as Lilith and the Succubus making a return. I'm not a huge fan of 50 Shades for obvious reasons. I mentioned the Greys came because I felt like they deserved the worst for such a putrid series, and the fact that I hate pornography, erotica, and such. And here are the songs for that. Hold on a sec. Ugh. Interference. Ugh. Alright, so, here are the songs. Blah, 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 blah. Well, 2 down, 7 more to go. The more severe the sins are, the tougher it is to put together. I hope gluttony won't be too much trouble, which hopefully I'll do later. Until then, this is the Ecron Writer signing out. And good riddance to those I put in the lust ring. So, I'll see you guys later.